Okay. So in this video, we are going to create a slider like this. So we can have it at the top of our web page, and it's going to cycle through. It's going to slowly iterate and walk through a group of images. Okay. And you can see here, in the last video, we used this group of images to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we're going to use these. And you can see they're JPEGs, JPG, JPG, to JPG. Okay. So let's take a look at. All right, so here's our HTML. We have this slider box at the top. And then we have a group of text boxes here. And what we're going to do, now the faded screen, this faded screen part, it gives that sort of not quite transparent feeling to it. There's kind of like a grayish haze over it. I think it looks good. It can also be good because if your images, if you've reduced the file quality down a little bit so that the images load quicker into the browser, it will disguise or it will hide just a little bit of that. Okay, and so they still look really good, but they'll load really fast. So, okay, so I've got these boxes, and it's a little bit different in the last video. What we're doing is we're taking one of these and we're putting it out in front of all of the others. Okay? And I'm going to move this over just a little bit. And so this will be hidden. All these ones with the class of waiting, they will be behind the current image. They will have already loaded in the browser. This is important because they will all be loading. Okay, this is going to load, this is going to load, but it waits 5 seconds. We're using a built-in JavaScript function to wait 5 seconds. So all these will be loading. This is kind of like a trick. They will be loading in the background, okay, even though you can't see them. All right? And so we have class current and we have class waiting. And I called these box 0, box 1, box 2, box 3, box 4. So if we look down here at these boxes, box 0, box 1, box 2, they all already have their URL inside them. Okay, and this is a little better than using an image tag, right? You know how before we use an image tag like this, and then we go source equals images 0.jpg, etc. Right? We'll do that, right? Well, with a background image, what we're doing is we're covering the whole area, okay? And then we're centering it vertically and we're centering it horizontally. And so this way it will stretch, okay? Let's say they open the browser window like this, it will naturally stretch it, okay? And it will remain proportional. It will remain so that it looks really good. It will adjust the height and it will adjust the width just the way we want it, okay? And that's why we're using this. We're using background size. It's cover the area. So it will cover, if the browser window, if it comes like this, it will still cover it, but it will change the image. It will modify it automatically so that it always looks good. Okay. Now, one thing I want to note, when you do this, you guys can see I have already made my images. They are already roughly, they're somewhat like a rectangle. This is shaped like a rectangle. 877 by 319. 1500 by 500. Okay, 960 by, it's roughly a 3-to-1 ratio. Okay, and then the browser will naturally my CSS will naturally adjust it. Okay, so what we do, first our body, our margin is 0. And what that does is that will push it up against the edge. Okay, margin 0, push it up against here. Push it up against the top, all right? And our slider, we give it a position of relative. That way we can, so we can then put our other elements, we can give them absolute, starting at top 0 and left 0, and giving it a height of 300 and width of 100. Okay, so our slider has 300, it has a width of 100, and so all of these different elements, okay, I gave this a class of box. Okay, so this is a box, all of these get that style. Okay, and current, now here's the trick. The class of current, and we're going to use our JavaScript to automatically change the classes. Okay, we're going to switch them and change them. Current has a z index of 10. So if my image or if my box has a class of current, it will be ahead of and in front of these ones because 10 is higher than 3. With a z index, if it's a low number, the other elements on the page that have a higher number will appear in front of them. So you won't see them. Okay, all the others you won't see them. So if I go here, I'm starting with this one at current. So it has a z index of 10. And this is 3, this is 3, this is 3. So this one is standing in front of all the others and you cannot see them. Okay? So now, all right. So the trick is switching this class, switching these. Okay? So how are we going to do that? All right, well, we're going to do it with some JavaScript. And you can see I gave this a z-index of 15, so it stays in front of all of them. Okay, it stays in front of all of them. And that's the fade screen, right? This fade screen. But this fade screen here, I could have put this down there, right? I could have copied this and just put it down here. It won't matter, right? Because these different boxes and this fade screen are being positioned absolutely. And they're taking sort of their bearings or where they start and what their shape is from the parent element, which is this div. Okay. And so now let's make our JavaScript. Okay, we have our document ready function. And what we're going to do is first I'm going to create up here a function, and I'm going to call it rotate images. Okay. And what we're going to do, we want to call that function, let's say every 4 seconds or every 5 seconds. So here's a built-in JavaScript function. Okay, just like in PHP, we have some functions that are built in, right? And we're going to call rotate images. We're going to call it every 5,000 milliseconds, right? So 5,000 milliseconds, that is 5 seconds. Okay, so we're going to call the function rotate images every 5 seconds. Okay, so this is a JavaScript built-in function. It's always available. You can use it. Now this isn't jQuery. This is JavaScript. And you may remember in my previous videos, all this is JavaScript. Well, most of all of it. This is jQuery, but it's fundamentally JavaScript, right? All right, so let's build our rotate images function. Okay, so the first thing, we're going to do this. We're going to take all these images that have a class of box, and we're just going to set their visibility property to visible. Okay. Now, I did this. Create a switch axis. Okay, and we're going to get that item that has a class of current. Okay? So we're just going to obtain it and we're going to grab it. Okay? Here, when we start out, it is box 0. So we are going to grab and obtain. We're going to get that element and we're going to put it into switch axis. So now switch axis is box 0 because we're starting with a class of current. Now we're going to change these and switch them around. We're going to slowly give this current and make that waiting. Then we're going to give this current and make this one waiting. Then we're going to give this current and make that one waiting. And this way we're going to slowly go through and make each one visible while making the others invisible. Okay? So now we've got that first div axis. And one thing I want to do, and one thing we can remember from last time, once I get to here, all right, I need to check that if I am at box 4, at that point, I need to check and be aware of it, because then I need to come all the way back to the start. Okay, I need to switch back to the start. All right, so, you know, I've decided to just check that right off the bat. I'm going to right quickly, I'm going to check that to see if we're in box 4. Okay, because then we need to just start over. All right. So, I want to know the ID of I want to know, well, where am I? Which box am I? So I will do switch axis attribute. Remember how we can get an attribute, and we want to get the ID attribute. Okay? You guys remember, this is an attribute, this is an attribute. Okay? So I want to get this ID. Okay? And so whatever it is, maybe I'm box 3, box 2, but when I'm at box 4, I want to check for the presence of that ID. Okay? So then I can do if my ID equals box 4, then I want to do something. Okay? But, yeah, well, okay, well, we'll do that now. All right. So, we will do this. We will make box 0 the starting one. We're going to grab it. We're going to add a class. And we're going to add the class current. Okay. And then we're going to remove the class waiting. Okay. Then we're going to come back to our switch axis, okay, because that's also current. And we're going to do this. We're going to grab, oh, no, we have that in our switch axis. And we're going to add class waiting. And we're going to remove class current. Okay. And then we just want to finish. We want to exit out of this. And so we'll just hit return. We're not going to send anything back. Okay. Oh, and we don't need this. Sorry about that. We don't need to put in that dot. We don't need to put in that dot. But we do when we grab it. When we select an element, okay, when we select an element, right, essentially a tag, like a div tag or an a tag, right, when we select it, we do need to put in, for example, the pound sign, right? We call that a pound, if your native language is in English, that's called a pound sign or a number sign. Sometimes it's called a hashtag, whatever. Originally, it was called a pound sign, or it was called a number sign. Okay. So we want to just return out of the function. We don't want to execute. We're going to have some code down here, but we don't want to execute that. Okay. Okay, so to add class waiting, or to remove class current. Okay. So now let's assume that, all right, it's not box 4. Maybe it's box 0, it's box whatever. Okay. So then what we want to do, we still have our switch axis, and whatever it is, we want to add class, whoops, what's going on here? There it is. Waiting. And we want to remove class current. Okay. Well, before we do that, I want to do this. Let's do something here. The first thing we probably should do is let's do switch axis. Now, here's something very important. We're going to go next. Boom, boom. So there, we're going to grab a hold of the next element, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to add class current, and then we're going to remove class waiting. Okay. All right. Then all right, so what does this is sort of the magic part, the next. All right. So if we're starting here at 0, and we use our switch axis from that is the point. And you can call this anything. You don't have to call it a switch axis, whatever. Next, we'll go, it would be box 1. So what is the next one from here? If this is the current div, right? What is the next one? It's that one. So it will grab box 1. Okay, it will grab box 1. Okay, so now right here you've got box 1. Our switch axis still exists, but what this code is doing is saying temporarily grab the next one. Okay, so here we've got box 1. All right, we're starting at box 0 as our switch axis. Then we're saying go to the next one. All right, the next element, the next tag. Okay, and then add a class to that one, which is current, and remove a class to that one, the one that we went to by next. Okay, so here, if we're starting at 0, We hit next, we go to box 1, and then we add current. And then we take away waiting. So this one then becomes visible, right? Do you remember here, because of the current is z index 10, waiting is z index 3, right? So then, all right, so now we want to come back to our switch axis and make it disappear. So we can just do this. Well, I'll show you here, you guys. You can remove class. Well, you can do it this way, current. And if this is more clear to you, you can also do it switch axis, add class, waiting. Okay, so above what I was doing was called statement chaining. Okay, it was a chain. I was going add class, remove class, and doing it all in one long chain. But if you want, you can write them on different lines, right? If you want to. Okay. Now that should call it every 5 seconds. All right. Well, let's see. If we refresh this. Yep, there we go. Okay, it's still working. Okay. So hey, you guys, I'm going to put the code. I'm going to put the code for this down in the comments section. You know, below. I will leave a link. So you can easily download all of this code, okay?